Y'all, let's talk about the Super Bowl. All right. So we actually were at a Super Bowl party with my family. You know, my wife and daughters, my sisters, my brother, brother-in-law, mom and dad, and so we decided to watch the Super Bowl. Halftime came around, and at that gathering, we were like, "Yeah, we're not gonna go either way, TPUSA or the Super Bowl halftime show." But I watched them afterwards. I wanted to just see what was actually happening, and for context, y'all, I live in a neighborhood. There's a right across the street from me. There's a guy. I think he's Puerto Rican, and so the day before the Super Bowl, he's out in the street playing soccer with his son, and he's blasting Bad Bunny, right? And he's just going for it, right? And for me personally, I don't know, like it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me because in my life at the time, I'm also like talking to these young adults. You know, I do part-time. I work for this organization, South Texas Alliance for Orphans, connecting kids who are aging out of foster care with mentor families. So I'm having these conversations with them about like actual life stuff and trying to get them on the right path and all of that kind of stuff. The Bad Bunny stuff just never came up in that conversation. We did talk about stuff about immigration because some of these kids, like they need help in that area, like with just papers and IDs and all of these different things, right? So like, but Bad Bunny Super Bowl just didn't come up in those conversations, and I'm like, I could care less. Like I understand that the guy, he has explicit lyrics and all that kind of stuff, but I think there's a lot of artists that do. So it wasn't personally like, I didn't feel like, oh my goodness, you know, the world's gonna end because he's doing the halftime show. I didn't feel like that. If I'm honest, I was more disturbed by the TPUSA halftime show, like the way that they were pitching it, and that Jesus and politics group over here trying to one up the world and, you know, one up the secular NFL halftime shows. It's like, ugh, like just to me, that does not feel like Jesus. It doesn't feel like salt and light. When Jesus said, be salt and the salt of the earth and the light of the earth, I don't think he didn't look at the world, mirror the world and say, I'm going to do what you're doing, but I'm going to do it better. Like that wasn't Jesus's thing. And it's not my thing either. But I did watch it, especially because TPUSA actually aired the halftime show on TBN, which is wild to me, especially because they had to bleep out words. They had to bleep out words in that thing, which it was wild. I think that with the TPUSA thing, there was just a lot of mixture. There was a lot of Jesus and politics and secular artists. We have to bleep out their words, but yeah, it's all for the glory of God. And it's like, I couldn't. I also couldn't with the Bad Bunny situation either. I did watch that, and I didn't really understand a lot of what he was saying. I know a little bit of Spanish just because I grew up here in San Antonio, and you just catch things. But obviously didn't enjoy the girls twerking and doing their thing, the guys grinding on each other. That was pretty wild. But y'all, I'll just say this for me. I'm just kind of like done with the holy war stuff. I believe that we're called to be in the world, not of it. And I think all that we have to do is just be authentically us, let the light of Christ shine on the inside of us, and just let Jesus do the rest. I think we feel like as believers, we have this mandate to conquer the world, and we're just in love with power, and we're in love with influence. We're in love with all of these different things, and we get on these side missions like to conquer. Turning Point USA, I'm not sure that definitely felt like a side mission. And that's what happens when we try to conquer and do all the things. We get on these side missions, and ultimately we just have to be who God has called us to be. I know this is not going to be popular because there's a lot of religious people out here who really believe that mission is supposed to look like domination. And I don't see that in the scripture. You look at Daniel. Daniel was not the king. He was in a powerful position, and he was able to influence secular kings and all that. You see the 3 Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were, there was a showdown, yes, but they were faithfully serving. They were faithfully serving in a secular environment, and there came a time where they were forced to bow in the secular environment, and they decided that they weren't going to bow, right? They didn't say, you know what? You made a golden statue to yourself. We're going to make a golden statue of Yahweh. And it's going to be bigger and better than your statue. Like, they did not do that, They just decided they were not going to bow to that statue. And then God, they allowed God to supernaturally show up and intervene. And yeah, same thing with Esther. I see God strategically placing people in positions, and he doing things that he will ultimately get the glory for. And we're just playing our part. And yeah, so guys, look, don't get caught up in holy wars. Don't get caught up in who's got the better halftime show. This is between light and darkness and blah. Like, don't get caught up in that. Just do what God's called you to do.